Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with a review of episode 7 of Proving Ground. I watched this right after the NXT TakeOver show. I did miss this on Monday night, but the way that it came on right after the NXT show was pretty cool to be able to go right from watching NXT to go right into watching Breaking Ground. I know that, them having this show and then being able to promote it on Monday Night Raw, and then once Raw rolls over to get you to watching Breaking Ground, making this seem like it's a must-see television, and getting people to switch from Raw right into the network. It's pretty smart, and I understand it, but having something from NXT to roll into this, or having this be able to roll into NXT, would have been better in my mind to sort of keep you on pace of what's going down. But maybe they're breaking in new fans to NXT by getting them introduced to these new wrestlers that they've never seen before, and maybe this sort of reality behind the scenes, seeing what they do on their day-to-day, or seeing how hard they train to get up to the main roster, makes you sort of get into the brand, and that's what it is. Episode 7 was entitled oh shoot, what the heck was this called? Proving Ground, I believe is what it was called. And it sort of focused on just a few wrestlers. They followed around Carmella, love Preet Singh, who is the guy who came over from India. We've got Chick Kick, known as Aaliyah or as Noof, on the show, and then also Bailey. This was a pretty easy, laid-back episode. At the conclusion of episode 6, where they were at the show in, I believe, Nashville, Carmella had a match against Eva Marie, where Eva Marie kicked Carmella in the back of the head, where she suffered a concussion. I thought it was pretty funny that once Carmella was diagnosed with the concussion, she was being said that she just came back from another injury, and maybe now, because of this injury, she was going to be put on the cutting block because of, she couldn't work, which I thought was pretty funny because of the fact that this came from Eva Marie, and Eva Marie was the one that kicked her in the back of the head. There was nothing Carmella could do. I don't know if she was supposed to have her arms up and be able to block it, but I don't think you're supposed to be kicking people in the back of the head, and that's just about it. So basically, Carmella is having to show what her life is, not being able to train. We see her and Kaz carving pumpkins for their apartment around Halloween time, talking about the fact that she is really wants to get back into wrestling. She really wants to get back in there and train. She's hoping that soon she'll be able to pass her physical, and she'll be able to get back into it. And then we see Carmella actually going through her physical, where one of the trainers has her get into the ring, where she has to hit the ropes 15 times, and after every 5 she has to do a roll inside of the ring. She's able to do this no problem, but she gets blown up. At the end of the test, the trainer says that she's going to write a note to the doctor to reevaluate Carmella and see what they can do to get her back into the ring sooner than later, because it looks like she's fine. Love Preet Singh talks about the fact that he is having a little bit of problems adjusting to the Performance Center. He has his Indian background in fighting, where they showed last week they showed him basically wrestling in a pit of mud in the middle of a field with tons of people all around watching his wrestling style, and he's trying to forget some of the things that he had been slammed into him on how to wrestle this Indian style, and now he's trying to wrestle the WWE American style, and he's having some problems falling back into some bad tendencies, and basically, he's trying to, break through and get to the point where they think he's going to be a big deal. He invites some of the NXT talent, as well as Coach Brookside. He talks about the good bond that he's built with Coach Brookside, where Coach Brookside has basically become sort of like a father figure to him, because he's left all of his family behind back in India. Once he has everybody over to his house, he sort of cooks this real authentic Indian dinner for everyone to eat, and sort of feel like he's back at home with the people that he's living with now. Coach Brookside talks about the fact that Love Preet Singh is really learning the American style very fast, and he's a very good athlete, and he's doing very well in the Performance Center where he wrestles his first match in front of his peers. He does very well, and as a reward at the very next NXT live show, moments before the event starts, he is told that he's going to be wrestling in the Battle Royal to start the show, and he gets into the ring. He's eliminated very early, but everyone says that he does a very good job inside of the ring, and that they like the fact that he's there. We see Chick Kick meeting with William Regal, talking about the new Aaliyah character, and it seems as if she has a lot of ideas. Last week, they immediately told her new name, and she went and she made a appointment with William Regal, and she already had drawing boards of what she wanted her character to wear as attire. It seemed like she had put a lot of thought into what she was going to be doing, and it sucked because they had basically the wrestlers all around the ring, and we see her make her entrance into the ring where she's being interviewed by one of the NXT staff that does the live shows, trying to introduce Aaliyah, to get her used to being the character in front of everybody that she works with. Basically they pick her apart, basically saying that her entrance is nothing, that she really didn't do anything to set herself above anybody else. She looked like a fan that was getting into the ring. Once she got into the ring and she was being interviewed, it was bad. I mean, there's no way to put it. I mean, I'm honestly rooting for her because of her YouTube background, and but it wasn't good. I mean, they basically asked her a character it went something like, and you're making your NXT debut, and she said, yeah, I'm Aaliyah, and she said, well, who is Aaliyah? And she said, me. It just was like she didn't know what to say. She didn't really know how to cut a promo as Aaliyah yet. So she still has a lot of work. And then they rolled that into following around Bayley. Bayley, they talk about basically being left behind. We had the Divas Revolution, and they took Sasha Banks. They took Charlotte, and they took Becky Lynch, all from NXT. Bayley, who was sort of in that 4-horsewoman pact, she's still there in NXT, and she's sort of like, she's here with talent, and everybody else is sort of down here, and they're trying to find a way to bridge the gap to get her more, women to actually wrestle with, because it looks like she's going to be in NXT for a little while. Basically talk about how the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn match was and how great it was. Sasha Banks was a great opponent for Bayley, and Bayley says that she wishes that she could just wrestle Sasha forever, because they were such real fans of professional wrestling, and they study it so much. They talk about, Bayley talks about, watching Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the Iron Man match. She's watched that match over 50 times, I think she says, and I'm just like, I've watched that match maybe twice, and that's enough for me. I know what happens in the match. It's a great wrestling match, but to me, honestly, to sit there for over an hour, and there's a lot of moves to go down, but there's no action, there's no pinfalls, there's no submissions, there's no close anything. You're just sort of waiting until that 10-minute mark. If you put the match on at 50 minutes and watch from 50 minutes to the end, and then the sudden death overtime, it's probably a great match, but I've never done that myself. I apologize. Bayley sets off on a road trip to an NXT live show. She's with Carmella in the car, who we've sort of bonded with and made her best friend. They bring Sarah Lee along, who's just coming out of Toughen Up, and she's brand new into the developmental system. She's there to sort of learn how to do these road trips and ask questions and then talk in the car and make a bond that, can sort of be, the guys always talk about, driving in the cars, talking about the business, rebooking the territory, and sort of putting things together. And this is their way of trying to get Sarah Lee into the group and get there. Bayley has a sit-down interview, with her coach, where she basically goes over her performance report, and she basically scores A+ all the way down. Her work is great. Her bond with her fans is great. She's created her own fan base, which is above and beyond anybody else that's in NXT, that she would be able to take with her to WWE and, be leaps and bounds above tons of other people. We see Sasha and Bailey sitting in the stands of the NXT Full Sail Arena, and Triple H approaches them and says that basically he has a plan that's going to set a new standard for women's wrestling, and basically the show ends as Triple H is about to tell them that they're going to main event the next NXT TakeOver event with their Iron Woman match. That wraps up what episode 7 was. Like I said, it was pretty evenly based amongst everybody that was there, and there was really nothing that jumped off the page. This was a good episode. I don't want to say this was a great episode. It just was sort of just moving it along. There was nothing bad in here. So great show, still going through. I didn't vote for it to win a Slammy. I gave it to the Stone Cold Podcast, but still a great show.